So have you heard about all the hype about the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Gel Moisturizer as well as the Olay Gel Moisturizer with hyaluronic acid? Well, today we're actually going to be talking about some drugstore moisturizers. So if you're experiencing dry skin this winter, you're slathering on the body lotion, they're not really working, we're going to actually break down the ingredients to see if it really lives up to its hype. So, field trip to the drugstore.
Okay, so we're here. I'm inside my car and we're about to go inside Target. So we're going to review some drugstore moisturizers, and what I did is I put up a poll in the YouTube community, and for those of you who saw it, we're going to do it totally based on the votes. So today we're going to be reviewing, of course, the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Gel and Olay. Keep a lookout in the future in the YouTube community that if we do polls, because basically the reviews are completely based on your votes. Okay, so when we go in and I turn over the moisturizers to look at the ingredients, I do first want to tell you that when the ingredients are listed, that in order to comply, in order to submit their ingredients list that they're on the products, they have to follow an actual protocol in order for their products ingredients to be listed on there so they can be easily comparable to other products, and as well as for safety reasons. So the first one is they have to list their products according to a standard, and it's INCI, I-N-C-I, and it stands for the International Nomenclature for Cosmetic Ingredients. And what that basically is it is a standardized format in the way that they list their ingredients. The second one is it's listed in descending order. And so, like I mentioned before, when you're looking at an ingredients list, it usually goes from the most, what the product contains, usually it's going to be water, and then in descending order. And then so it has to be at least 1%. If the ingredients that are listed are less than 1%, or 1% or less, so towards the bottom, then that usually could be in any order. So if you see something like FD&C yellow, which is a colorant, or methylparaben, which is a paraben, even though that could be more than the other ones listed, if it's less than 1%, they can put it in any order. So that's why I always say that you want to pay attention to the first third of an ingredients list as well as the middle, because that's what most of the product will be made of. So the most common formulation in moisturizers is oil in water formulation. You have to have more water than oil. Whenever you have more oil than water, then what happens is the product starts to separate. So that's why they add emulsifiers. So emulsifiers keeps the oil and water emulsion together so it doesn't separate. So to give you an idea, when you don't have emulsifiers in there, and so a good example of this is Italian dressing. When you see that they're separating, you actually have to shake it to blend them together. So to keep from doing that in skincare products and hair care products and detergents and all those types of things, they add emulsifiers to keep them to stay together. Okay, so the basic categories of moisturizers, and I have a list here because it's quite long, and this way you can refer to your moisturizers to see if you're getting the most for your money. So obviously the first one is going to be water, or in some cases aloe vera gel. Moisturizers, so those are occlusives and humectants, thickeners, esters, oil-soluble ingredients, preservatives, antioxidants, and then stabilizers. So those are all the things that you are looking for. So even organic products that claim that they're organic, they still have to have preservatives in some form or another so that it doesn't spoil. So before we go into Target to go ahead and evaluate the moisturizers, if you're finding this information useful and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Please go ahead and subscribe and then hit that notification bell. I usually put up videos every Friday to let you know, as well as go ahead and hit that like button. So we're going to go into Target right now, so go ahead and follow me along and we'll go ahead and make those product reviews.
So I planned to review the products while I was in the store, but since it's early in the morning, the Target employees are actually doing inventory and was making a bunch of background noise. So we decided to go back to the boutique and review the products. So what I was surprised to see was some of the anti-aging products were locked up. And the beauty industry has done an outstanding job marketing their products so well that women are stealing their products. If you actually evaluate their products based on the ingredients, women are basically paying for, or in this case, trying to steal high-priced silicones and esters in a jar. The active ingredients are towards the bottom, which you will see when we go back to the boutique to evaluate the products and their ingredients. So the first one we're going to evaluate is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and break down the actual ingredients. We're not going to go through every single one of them because that would just take forever. So we're just going to go over the main part of it, the first third or so. By the way, I do want to say that when I'm doing this review, the companies do change their ingredients every so often, and actually they do it more often because raw materials cost so much. So it may change from the time that I make this video. I already did notice that there was a slight change with the Neutrogena Hydro Boost at Target versus the ingredients list on the website. So the first ingredient was, of course, water. The second ingredient is dimethicone, and this is a silicone-based polymer. It's a large molecule made up of smaller units bound together. It's synthetic because it's man-made, used in hair conditioners, anti-frizz serums, and creams and lotions to give skin and hair a very smooth feel and look. And it fills in fine lines and wrinkles, which is why makeup primers are mostly made up of dimethicone. Now, the downside to this is it's an occlusive agent. It can form a plastic-like film over skin, so for those of you who are breakout-prone and bumpy skin prone, it's not recommended. It's also non-biodegradable, so it's very hard to break down on your skin. Some sensitive skin types and reactive skin types cannot tolerate this well. It also has vinyl dimethicone, which is used to adjust the viscosity or thickness of the product. Dimethicone cross polymer or dimethiconol. It's a hydrogenated synthetic silicone similar to dimethicone, and it's basically a non-greasy lubricant and basically gives the skin a temporary plump look. Polyacrylamide is also acrylic resin that dissolves in water. It's a stabilizer, binder, and thickener, and in and of itself, it's not considered toxic, but in some circles, it's controversial because it can secrete acrylamide, which is a suspect carcinogenic linked to mammary tumors. So you would think with the Neutrogena Hydro Boost touting hyaluronic acid, it would be higher on the ingredients list, but hyaluronic acid is actually listed number 17 out of the 19 ingredients right before blue number 1, which is a petroleum-derived color additive, so it gives the blue hue of the product. And glycerin, which is higher up on there, that's actually the main humectant that they're using to bring moisture to the skin. So if you haven't seen my video on hyaluronic acid, what the beauty industry doesn't tell you, go ahead and click the link above to find out what that is all about. So sodium hyaluronate is listed very, very low. It does say that it's non-comedogenic, it's a velvety primer, it's 100% alcohol-free and dye-free, so that's not exactly true. It's Hydro Boost, hyaluronic acid. They make their jars blue. They want you to think of and it says 100% hydration. Well, the hyaluronic acid is towards the bottom. The other benefit they talked about is olive benefits. Sorry. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry. And the other one is sorbate and olivate, which is another derivative of, it's a fatty acid from the olive oil. And this time they're using it as a surfactant or an emulsifying agent. So those are your two benefits. So really, it's not really a benefit. It's actually just to keep the product intact. The other thing and this is the reason why I said for those of you who tend to break out easily or you get bumps, this may not be the product for you, because according to the list listed on their website, the fourth ingredient is petroleum. So petroleum is an occlusive agent. I understand why they're using it. It's to keep the moisture that you're adding in there from escaping, but it's the fourth ingredient. It's too high up there, and they're already using dimethicone. So finally, this is my take, and I know that some of you are major groupies of Neutrogena Hydro Boost Gel, but, and I'm probably gonna get a couple thumbs down, but I am just simply looking at the ingredients. I am not brand specific. If you are looking for a product that has a high amount of hyaluronic acid, then this is probably not your best deal. I would probably look at other products, or even hyaluronic acid serum that has the highest amount of hyaluronic acid. Now we're going to go to our next product. It's Olay. This one is actually kind of similar to the Neutrogena Hydro Boost, and this one is the Olay Age Defense moisturizer, gel moisturizer with hyaluronic acid. So we're going to go to that one next. So here are the major differences between Neutrogena Hydro Boost versus the Olay Age Defense Gel Moisturizer with hyaluronic acid. The Hydro Boost, the sodium hyaluronate, is second to the last ingredient versus Olay, which is the 7th ingredient. And the second ingredient in the Hydro Boost is dimethicone, where the second ingredient in Olay is glycerin. And glycerin is a very strong humectant, very similar to hyaluronic acid. Now, the dimethicone in Olay is the 3rd ingredient. It's actually a silicone derivative. It's used as a lubricant, and that's the cyclopentasiloxane. And the 5th ingredient is dimethicone. Now, the benefit with the Olay versus the Hydro Boost is that Olay does add anti-aging agents in there. So it does have niacinamide in there, and it actually boosts other antioxidants. So in this case, Olay uses vitamin E and niacinamide. So niacinamide boosts the properties of vitamin E. So as far as your money goes for your value, as far as humectants, again, here is another example where the beauty industry touts using hyaluronic acid, charges a little bit more, but the actual main humectant ingredient is glycerin. So Olay is the better deal versus the Neutrogena Hydro Boost. Olay Age Defense Gel Moisturizer with hyaluronic acid is your best bet. Okay, so the next ingredient after the dimethicone, so I think it's the 6th ingredient, is butylene glycol. Now this is petroleum based, and it's used as a solvent. So for those of you who are breakout prone, or you easily break out, or you tend to have bumpy skin, this may not work for you. Olay has a preservative. They use parabens. They actually use 3 of them. They use methylparaben, propylparaben, and ethylparaben, which is not that big of a deal, but it is higher than I would like to see. I think I saw it like towards the bottom part of the middle section. It should be at the very, very bottom. So for those of you who don't want to use anything with paraben, Olay does have the parabens in there. So the conclusion is that the Olay Age Advanced Gel Moisturizers with hyaluronic acid, even though that's not their big thing, the benefit is the hyaluronic acid ingredient rates higher in the ingredients list. They have the added some anti-aging benefits in there. The downside to it is it does still use a lot of silicones to give that smooth, slippery glide feel. It uses artificial colors, synthetic ingredients, fragrances, and color. So for those of you who tend to break out, react, have eczema, psoriasis, or some kind of autoimmune disorder, this is probably not the one for you. And this is 1.7 ounces, and this one is $21.49. Okay, the Neutrogena Hydro Boost, even though that one touts the more hyaluronic acid, it's actually 19 out of the 21 ingredients. So I don't know why they're making such a big deal with that. And mostly it is a lot of binders and to keep it feeling soft, smooth, silky, and to keep the suspension together. So I'm going to give you just some alternatives to get the most for your money. So once again, I'm more value driven versus price driven. It's not simply about price. I'm looking to see what you're paying for. So this one here is the UB Moisturizing Cream. Okay, this one has glycerin. Now, I personally like the new advanced hydration cream that they have because this one has glycerin and sodium hyaluronate, and it also has tocopherol acetate, which is vitamin E. But they do have methylparaben in here, and the other one is paraben free. This has a camphor scent, which evaporates very quickly, so it kind of smells like a like a menthol smell, kind of almost like a medicinal smell. The other one is fragrance free. And I don't have the one because I just sold my last one literally today. So, and that one, the other one, which is green, that one is has chamomile in it, or Camellia sinensis, which is a natural anti-inflammatory, calms the skin down. This was so this one's great. It's actually designed by a Japanese pharmacist, and it actually was tested by a mountain climber climbing Mount Everest. And so it was very hydrating to them. So I like the green one, and I'll put the product links below. So this one, I'll put the links for this one. This one you cannot get at stores. It's post-recovery cream. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it with the glare. So this one here is actually designed for people that have post treatments, whether it's an acid peel, you're using Retin A, laser treatments, anything that makes your skin really super dry, it's peeling, it's red, it's itchy. If you're breakout prone, it doesn't have any of the breakout prone ingredients. And this is what the hydration of it is. So the second ingredient is aloe vera gel, so that's very soothing and it's cooling, and it has some humectant properties in it. It also has squalene, which we talked about before, also very hydrating, subtle esters, and it has beta glucan, which is a anti-inflammatory. It's the one that's derived from the oatmeal. And the Camellia sinensis, which is the anti-inflammatory as well. It has tocopherol, which is the vitamin E. This also has the cetyl alcohol, which we talked about, you know, kind of gets a little bit waxy when it dries, and it also has glycerin. So this is not only, it's very, very hydrating, but the good thing about this is this does not cause breakouts like the other ones do, because it is for post-recovery treatment cream. And I think this one sells for $36, and this is for a 2-ounce one, but it's very concentrated. So the good thing about this one and the UB is that it's really, really concentrated. You don't need a whole lot. So for your money, you're getting a lot. It actually addresses the dry, cracked, flaky, irritated, itchy skin. So there you go. So if you haven't seen it, go to my How to Hydrate Your Skin playlist to see all the rest of the videos. Thanks for watching.